Fade to Black is a 1980 psychological slasher film written and directed by Vernon Zimmerman. It stars Dennis Christopher, Norman Burton, and Morgan Paul, among others. Fun little bit of trivia, the main actor in this would later go on to play Eddie Kazbrak in the 1990 made-for-TV adaptation of Stephen King's It. He would later go on to play as Leo. Can't place his surname, but Leo in the revisionist western Django Unchained. It also got involved in a lawsuit concerning the U.S. Film Office of Northbrook, Illinois and William Boyd Enterprises, alleging that the film had no permission using clips of Hopalong Cassidy. So, yeah, evidently the U.S. Film Office was like, what the fuck? Although, this was never proven from what I've read so far, and the clips still remained. Anyway, let's start the review. The premise of this film centers on Eric Binford, played by Christopher, a shy, movie-obsessed, socially awkward young man who works at a film distribution warehouse. Now, Eric does not have it easy at all. Not only is he treated horribly at home by his wheelchair-bound aunt, but he also seems to get the same treatment from his coworkers as well as his boss. That soon changes, though, when he meets a Marilyn Manson look-alike named Marilyn O'Connor, played by Linda Carriage, and she agrees to go on a date with him. Unfortunately, she ends up unintentionally standing him up, which does a number on Eric's mental well-being, sending him into a murderous rampage where he dresses up as classic film characters such as Dracula and Hopalong Cassidy, and starts murdering those who have done him wrong. An investigator is hired to find him, played by Tim Thomerson, and believes that he can do something about Eric's deteriorating mental health, but he might already be too far gone. Now, I will admit this film did kind of drag in some areas, and there were moments in the film that kind of perplexed me in terms of story, like how Eric knew about that one film producer, about where that one film producer was getting his haircut, or why he thought it was a good idea to ask for that one woman's autograph after sneaking into her home, dressed as Dracula, or why he asked for it when she was in the fucking shower. Like, even I'm a bit socially awkward, but even I wouldn't do that shit. Despite these things, though, this is a fairly decent premise, and it surprisingly plays out in a fairly disturbing way. Not only because of the fact that it's grounded in reality, but also because we are seeing the film from the view of someone who is slowly losing touch with reality. And it just really kind of builds, since the things going against Eric only gets worse until it eventually builds up to his first kill. And Eric only deteriorates more and more. Holy shit, it is windy. Since he has tasted blood. And murder is now all he knows. What's also surprisingly disturbing about this film is that Eric seems to be aware that he's slowly losing it, yet ultimately refuses to get help. Right after his first kill, he just breaks down crying. And also at one point, he just has a complete emotional breakdown when talking to his aunt. The premise might feel cheesy in some areas, but ultimately proves to demonstrate a fairly unnerving idea that could easily happen to anyone. In the words of Joker, pretty sure it was the Joker, all it takes is one bad day. I give premise a B+. Although it's slow in some areas, it did manage to demonstrate some very chilling ideas. Next is acting. Part of the unnerving mood in this film had to do with the performances, specifically that of Dennis Christopher. Eric's mental breakdown felt so genuine in some areas that it legit felt as though Dennis Christopher himself was having a breakdown. Like the scene where he's talking to his aunt after getting into contact with that film producer. He just curls himself up in a fetal position and starts grasping at his hair, and it just made him legit seem like he was actually having an emotional breakdown. And his portrayal of the classic film characters was also really good, since while he was entertaining to watch in some of the roles due to how much fun Dennis Christopher seemed to be having, playing them, but also it only demonstrates how much further detached he has become from reality, since it's clear at that point he has lost all grasp on it and just completely views life as a movie now. Mickey Rourke also does a fantastic job, since his performance will genuinely make you loathe his character. I give acting a B+. A fine job from all the players. Cinematography in this movie was okay, nothing to be too impressed with, but not bad at all. Of course, the color grading was a bit awkward in some areas, and lighting was a bit off too. Although I will say there were instances here and there where I was pleasantly surprised by it. Other than that, pretty average but not bad. I give cinematography a B. Okay for the most part, but pretty good on some occasions. Direction in this movie was pretty good. From what I can tell, this is the only thing the director has done horror-related, and he does a fairly decent job. Although my one major complaint with this film is that it has an extremely abrupt ending that didn't really feel like it wrapped things up. I feel like maybe there should have been a little more build-up to it, since the film is slow in some areas, as I've said before. But the way Vernon depicts Eric's descent into madness is surprisingly chilling since it just sort of gradually happens. And since the film is mostly told from his point of view, you get to see firsthand his descent into madness, as the mistreatment from his peers slowly drives him more and more into reclusiveness and eventually a murderous psychosis. And the portrayal of mental illness is done fairly well, since while they do obviously demonstrate that Eric's the villain and clearly in the wrong, the film does still establish that this is just a lonely kid who was pushed too far, and that there could have been measures to help Eric so that he wouldn't reach the point of demonstrating murderous behavior. I give directing a B+. Major kudos to Zimmerman. Overall, Fade to Black feels like a mix of Scream, the Joker movie from 2019, and Rob Zombie's Halloween. Its portrayal of mental illness is handled really well, since it not only demonstrates how scary it can truly get, but also how serious of an issue it is. The references to classic films was also a lot of fun as well. I give Fade to Black a B+. Although it does get cheesy, it was still a pretty solid watch. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and sub for more content.